Hello, chefs. This is Chef's PSA Podcast. I'm your host, André Natera. On today's episode, we have Harold Villarosa. Harold's a legendary chef based out of Austin, Texas, from New York. He's worked in some incredible restaurants, including Per Se and Noma. Right now, he just recently opened Oko in Austin, Texas. I tried it. I think the food is phenomenal. In this episode, we get to talk about Filipino cuisine, working in some of the best restaurants in the world, what some of his standards are in the kitchen, and advice that you would give to any chef that wants to step into the high-end world of cooking. Don't miss this one. Stay tuned. Chef, congratulations, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So for people that don't know, you just opened up Oko
That's right.
in Austin, Texas. Tell for people that are listening, tell them about it.
Oko is our take on Filipino food with a Texas prism.
Yeah.
So we're using a lot of Texas products, but we're flavoring it with some of the Filipino flavor profiles.
Yeah.
And it's right here on downtown East 6 on the east side. It used to be Ashing Den. It's right on the corner. It's a beautiful space, and we're super excited for it. It's been a great feedback so far.
How do you, when you're doing the R&D process, because obviously you have this classical training. I don't want to say classical, but you haven't necessarily done this type of restaurant before. Now in Austin, even though we had a couple of Filipino restaurants, we haven't had anything on this scale.
Right.
So how do you bring your technique and your training to Filipino cuisine?
I mean, I think it really just comes down to you knowing who you are. I think that's what it really just comes down to. The voice that we're speaking through right now is an experience between Paul and I.
Yeah.
Paul Key's one of the principal owners of the restaurant. And so I think, being able to been working with Filipino food profiles for the last 6 years and kind of diving into my own Filipino-American upbringing and kind of bringing to that the forefront, the techniques that I've learned, and then really understanding what works with Filipino food and kind of what people really like to eat with Filipino food. That's really it. And then also a lot of failure. The R&D part is super hard. It's a lot of trial and error. A lot of stuff gets burnt. A lot of stuff gets too sour, too sweet. You got to find this medium always. But then also sometimes it just doesn't work. Like some food that we really wanted to do didn't make the cut because it was too Filipino in that sense, you know what I mean?
Yeah. What do you mean by that, too Filipino? Like for people that don't understand, what are some of the predominant flavors in the Philippines that would be shocking to the kind of the Austin palate?
Yeah, we have this thing with the funk.
The funk.
Most Southeast Asian cultures have this funk.
Yeah.
Right. It's mainly fermented fish. And we have a dish that has it. It's called bagoong in my country, but Paul and I decided that the bagoong needed to taste like something that we can eat. It couldn't be too strong. It makes the dishes you need to have that palate already to be able to understand why we use that funk that way.
Yeah.
So we decided to create our own funk, in a sense. So we have, some dehydrated squid, baby squid, baby shrimp, some annatto seed, our GSG, which is our base garlic ginger shallots, and then a lot of annatto oil. The annatto oil is made out of chicken fat.
Yeah.
And so we have a lot of these like nuances, and they kind of didn't damper it, but it increased the flavor of what we're looking for when you create a dish like that or a condiment like that. And it's been super popular with the Filipinos coming in. I mean, they want to take some home, analyze it. They're like, why does it taste like this? And it's been very interesting to see the Filipinos grab onto it and want more of it because you can literally eat it now. It's like one of those things where before the bagoong that comes in a glass container or that fermented differently, it's too salty, too sour, or any of that sort. This condiment that we make is fresh, so you can have the umami flavor profiles in it, but still have the texture you're looking for in that dish, and then the saltiness that you need. Just dab a little bit here and there. It makes the dishes go well.
So for people that don't know, if you were going to have a traditional Filipino meal at home, what does that look like? Like what's on the table? You invite friends over, families over. What's being served?
So rice, definitely rice, always. And then also, it just depends on the weather. Where are you at? If you're in California, you're definitely gonna hit you with lumpia, pancit, some broth like a sinigang, which is like a sour broth with salmon head and shrimp. and then they'll hit you with the big pork belly or lechon kawali situation, and then the dessert is another section. You know what I'm saying? Like for 4 people, that would be a meal. So it would be like lumpia, pancit, sinigang, pork belly dish, and like maybe a big ass bowl of big bowl of rice.
Yeah.
I'm talking about maybe a quart's worth.
Yeah. I mean, I
Cooked.
ate at the restaurant last week,
Yeah.
and I thought everything was great, and I feel like a lot of what you just talked about I saw on my table.
That's right.
Yeah.
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 We want to have the same algorithm that people recognize.
Yeah.
But sometimes we want to make them smaller portions, or we want to ump the sourness a little bit, or ump the sweetness a little bit, and add a little spice, because I feel like Filipino food doesn't have that layer of spice to it. It's very sweet, very sour, and very umami filled with soy and mushroom powder. Those are the things that we use all the time. So Paul and I decided to add a little bit of Thai chilies or habanero into the mix, and then it created a new look of the food.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense for this market, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
People do lean a little bit spicy.
Yes.
In Texas, especially. Do you see Filipino cuisine kind of making an emergence right now?
Yeah.
You see other chefs that you're looking at as well, saying, okay, there's more people that are interested in bringing this flavor out.
I mean, for the past 20 years, Filipinos in the kitchen have always been either line cooks or number twos. Never been in the front. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we're having this moment now where Filipinos are being able to speak their voice and be able to express themselves through the culture, and be able to say, this is what I stand on now, instead of like standing on French food or standing on Italian food or standing on Japanese food. You know what I mean? And I think we're finding our way now to express ourselves. And Filipino chefs are super talented. Like I've met so many Filipino chefs that work for, TKRG and Danielle's in New York and all this stuff, and never had an opportunity to really like cook our food. So with the emergence of Kasama being a Michelin star now in Chicago, and those guys coming out of Greg Atkins's kitchen, and like Francis Ang at Abaca in San Francisco, Musang in Seattle with Mel, and Kaya in Orlando with my friend Lordifer, and Paulo at Haraya in DC, and then in New York there's just a plethora of restaurants now, Kaya to Nax, to all types of restaurants that are opening up. So I think we're having this moment that any Filipino restaurant can either go turo, which is like a place with heat lamps and like you just scoop in and go into a container. That's also good. Or you can go right into mid-levels where we're at, where it's like a little bit of, fine dining aspects to it, but you can still feel like it's casual. Or you can go super fine dining like Kasama and get a Michelin star, So there's this like window that we can fit now. And I think we can do all three, whichever way we want to do it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Because opening up a restaurant is really fresh on your mind right now. When did you open? About 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks, yeah.
So for people that don't know, today is October 8th that we're recording. One of the things that we talk about on this podcast a lot is hopefully that people could learn something and take away so they could not make the same mistakes that we've made. So what are some of the things that people should look out for when they're opening up a restaurant? Like we always think about writing a menu, and we always think about making sure the food tastes good, but what are some of the other things that people don't think about?
Man, I think at the end of the day, it comes down to capital. The capital part is the most important part. Anytime you think that you're going to spend this much, multiply that by 30%. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's not always what it is. You excavating the bottom part of the building and you find some Mesopotamian rock that the museum has to come in and excavate. Like stuff like that happens all the time. You know what I mean? Like the pipe burst. Like what are you gonna do with that? Like the oven doesn't fit in the space that you allotted for it. It doesn't match with the hood system. Like like any of these things happen all the time. And I think some restaurant owners and some people that's going into the restaurant business that want to open a restaurant think that it's cut and dry like other businesses. There's so much nuances that go into it that you have to be aware of. And I think giving yourself a runway to protect yourself capital wise is the smartest thing to do. You know what I mean? And like being able to have that cushion will give you the right to be able to be more creative, but also open the restaurant and not give the staff, owners, all the way to the dishwasher, any of that stress. You know, I've opened 9 restaurants in my career now. This one was top 4 in a sense of like not hurting as much, you know what I'm saying? But I've been to some openings where, you know, the construction, the GCs, the middle service is drilling something on the wall, you know what I mean? Like, or they're something broke in the back and collapsed the whole shelving unit or some crazy thing. And, or the dishwasher just blew up and like, you know, like always. So I think, if you're going to get into the restaurant business and you want to open a restaurant, whatever your pro forma number is, you're going to multiply that by 30% just to give yourself a cushion. And then you won't be so stressful, you know what I'm saying? You won't be so stressed.
What about building a team? When you're opening up this restaurant, how do you go about picking, you know, your sous chefs, your line cooks, and everything else to make sure that you're successful?
Yeah, I mean, I'm new to this market, right? So in New York, I don't really hire sous chefs until the day we open or the week the week before we open, because I rather see what talent I have in house and build that person up, you know, because my system is super old school. I run it super old school. You know, I cross train everybody in each station. I also require that I'd rather have a small team than a large team, so everybody can feel what it's like to work in that kind of space, because I feel like it makes you stronger that you can work in that kind of like closed unit, and it also creates the bond that, you know, it's like being in the military, right? Like, you know, Navy SEALs are small units, right? And then they go into these situations in small packs, and they create this bond, and it's unbreakable, right? And one of my mantra in the kitchen is the line never breaks. It don't matter how hard the front of the house is pushing. We as a team never break, you know? So I always kind of really push it to the limit with my team. And I want them to feel that top tier pressure, and then wean off when we start like opening and like doing all these things. So they know what that feels like. And when they get there, they know how to act. But at the same time, we only work in a space where we're comfortable and then we're good. You know what I mean? So I always want them to feel what those extremes are. Because I want them to know what the boxes they're gonna play in. And then when I hire a sous chef, or even lift the sous chef up from the squad, that's the best way for me, because that sous chef already went through the battles with those guys, and they know that they can trust him to protect them and have their back also. Because at the end of the day, what I learned when I was young, the hardest transition was from being a line cook to a sous chef. That was the hardest transition.
Why?
I think having the trust of the guys on the line and them knowing that you're going to be a supervisor, and then you have to like really get into the mix. You either got to be better than them in cooking or any of those sort, or you're showing them something new, right? So I feel like I always like to hire from within the group, and it's like choosing a team captain on a basketball team, right? This guy's the captain now, and they know why he's the captain, because he scores the most points, he works the hardest, he shows up before you, he leaves before you, his station is the cleanest, his pickup times are faster than you, like all these type of things. They already know that this is the reason why he's getting lifted. And I usually ask the team to vote for that guy to be brought up to be a sous chef. So that's the way I like to kind of run my teams, and have them be in the mix, especially when we were opening, have them be in the mix together, and then choose the leader, and then he leads the pack, and I'm just in the back.
So when you're stress testing, like in mock service or whatever, you push them. Do you scale up the cover? So like, I'm just making this up, like 60, 80, 100?
No, I open it. I rip the Band-Aid.
Just let them crash.
Yeah.
So they find all the pressure points.
Exactly. And then we have that conversation after.
Yeah.
I'm like, how can you make your station better? in this sense. You're moving too much.
Yeah.
You should only be spinning on your station. You're moving too much. You're going out of your station too much. Why is that? Oh, chef, ran out of space. Da da da. Well, why don't you make kits? Right? Kit up your station. Boom. Oh, chef, boom. Kit up their station. Boom, boom, boom. And all this stuff. So I like to rip it open. When we did our friends and family, we did 80 covers. Each dish, except for the large format items, was under 9 minutes. These boys were pumping. We built the menu for speed, obviously, but I taught them a couple tricks of the rest of the kitchen. I'm telling you the truth, it's a New York kitchen. That's bottom line. The size, the way the line is formatted, how many guys are on that line, how many dishwashers we got. Like this is a New York setup. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I already knew that one guy that's in the fry station, he only has a 4x4 situation.
No wasted space.
No waste. He has nowhere to go.
Yeah.
He has nowhere to go. So he either has to go upside or on top of stuff. Like he needs to find a way to control his own station. And, my main thing is really maintaining cleanliness. You know what I'm saying? So every hour and a half, the dishwashers come down, do a deep sweep and mop real quick. And so the guys on the line feel always that their station is clean. So whenever they see the dishwashers come down, they start cleaning the pianos, you know what I'm saying, doing all this stuff, wiping their station down. And so it's like my own little nuances that I've created for myself when I was a cook. And this is my reflection of how I was when I was a cook, you know what I mean? Working in a small New York kitchen. So yeah, we I think Oko right now hasn't really been tested in a sense of like what this feels like for opening the reservations. The most we've done is 175. I think we can do 250, right? That's like 5 turns at the restaurant. I'm sorry, that's like 4 turns at the restaurant. And I think we can bang it out, but we're still there.
So when you open up in my experience, I'm sure you probably experienced this too, but usually when you open up a restaurant, you have a lot of attrition. So you start with this team and then they didn't make it. They're gone. You got to replace them.
No, I didn't have that. I didn't have that opportunity. No, I wanted to.
Yeah.
That's what I would talk to the owners about, but the owners are like, nah, this is how much you got.
That's it.
This is what you got.
You don't get anything to trim.
Nah, this is it. You're either gonna go in there trim and like ready to go, or you're not gonna be ready.
So how do you handle what is trim? 4 or 5 cooks on the line?
4 cooks on the line, 2 dishwashers, 2 prep guys.
What if you lose one? Like how quickly? Because Austin sometimes it's kind of tough to flip people. But how do you make sure that if you're going in lean and you don't have the opportunity to lose people because it gets it gets too hard for them or whatever? How do you make sure that they're taken care of?
In the beginning, we have this conversation when we first meet.
Yeah.
There's only 2 rules in the kitchen, in my kitchen. 1 is you come on time, and then 2, you work hard between the times. I don't really care what happens outside of this place. I don't care what's going on at your house. I don't care none of that. You leave that stuff out. When you enter this place and you clock in, you leave all that stuff at home. This is a safe place. This is a place where you can be whoever you want to be. All I ask for you is to work hard between the times that you're here. Other than that, we're good. Nobody drinks at my spot. Nobody does drugs. We're straightforward, going in, work as hard as we can, and then go home. Then we're punching out. And once they understand that these are the only 2 rules, and I wean out all the people that I interview. Some people are divas and they want to, do some other stuff.
They're all divas.
Shit.
They're all divas.
So, we went through the interview process,
Yeah.
And mostly most of my guys are, to tell you the truth, are the people that I came up with in the kitchen. They're all Guatemalan guys, or Mexican guys, like this is the type of kitchen I have right now. These guys are hard-nosed, hardcore, like don't ask for nothing, but all they want is like a soda at the end of the night. Like, you know what I mean? Like these guys come in, clean their station, taste everything. Like we have this down to a system,
So let me ask you this. We were talking about Filipino food earlier, and it has a certain funk to it.
Right.
But you're saying in your kitchen you have a lot of people that are Guatemalan and maybe don't know that funk. They don't recognize that flavor. How do you train them because to them, they don't know, like it tastes good, but is it right or wrong?
Right.
How do you train them on the palate?
We talk about the cultural connections.
Yeah.
We always talk about what does this look like on their side.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say, they don't even know. They did know. I taught them last week. There's a trade between the Philippines and Mexico for over 250 years called the Mexican Galleon trade, right? And we got chocolate from Mexico. We gave them agave and coconut milk, and we're literally cousins in this sense, right? So any of the dishes that we do, I try to tell them, oh, this is like a ceviche, or this is like a puerco con salsa verde, or this is like tamales, or this is like boom, 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 like any of those things. So there's a connection there. So they're always saying, oh, should it need more salt? Does it need more sugar? Does it need more fish sauce? They're always constantly asking these questions. And I do a tasting every 4:30 with all the sauces.
Yeah.
They come up with the spoons.
They bring them to you?
Yeah, they bring me with all the spoons,
Yeah.
And I taste every station, stuff like that. So that's where the learning process is, you know what I mean?
Yeah. When you're teaching someone to taste, how do you explain to them? Do you explain to them like salt, heat, acid, or do you just say, no, you're tasting? Do you get more granular?
No. I give them the overarching thing.
Yeah.
I give them that space to kind of get the flavors to where they need it to go. Then I taste at the back end and I tell them, okay, this is great. Because at the end of the day, sometimes some of the products, the temperature that might be in the space might be a little different. Something might be out for 2 hours. Like it always changes, But the main thing we try to do is all the green sauces that we have that's fresh stays in the box, doesn't stay out, so those things always stay fresh. And all the sauces are always done 2 days. We flip the sauces every 2 days.
What does the creative process look like for you? Like I know a lot of chefs, like myself, for example.
Right.
I need headphones, classical music, green tea, and quiet.
Right.
Some people like cookbooks everywhere with tabs. Other people, it's like a bunch of people in a room and we're writing shit on the whiteboard. What does your creative process look like?
Cookbooks. I'm a big cookbook head. Yeah. Cookbooks all over the table. Moleskin notebook. Silence. Alone. Yeah. That's how I get down. And I think I got that way when I used to work the Food Network back in 2010. They had a library.
Yeah.
And that's how I got to know about, chefs like Greg Achatz, Thomas Keller, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so, I love cookbooks. I think visually I'm good with kind of like the plating and kind of the nuances of dishes. Yeah. And also, YouTube University is great. You know what I'm saying? And we use that a lot.
Yeah. I want to ask you, because I know you mentioned you work at the Food Network, but you've also worked in some great restaurants. You worked at, per se, Noma, arguably two of the greatest restaurants, in the world.
Yeah.
Batard. For someone that's never worked in that type of kitchen, because at one point, you were the guy that didn't ever work in those kitchens, who went into those kitchens. I'm sure there was a learning curve. For someone that's never been in those kitchens, how would you prepare to go into something like that if you've never been in that environment? What are some things that you should look out for?
I think first and foremost, you should walk in there with intention.
Yeah.
Yeah. You shouldn't go in there thinking that, it's going to be a breezy walk and a talk. You know what I mean? Like these kitchens are where they're at because of a certain level of intensity, number one. And then number two, there's a certain level of standard that you need to follow. And you need to get into the Kool-Aid fast.
Yeah.
Don't wait for the Kool-Aid to get to you 6 months in or whatever. You need to drink the Kool-Aid ASAP.
Yeah. What do you mean? What do you mean? Expand on that.
So in per se, they have it's called it's like a code of conduct. Every month there's a word that we have to be following every month, like humbleness or gratefulness or any of those things.
Yes.
Like you literally have to know those terms, and you need to know why we have those terms for this month, because the chefs will ask you, then have you been grateful today? Have you been have you shake out with the team? Have you washed your apron? Have you have you shaved today? You need to get into the system ASAP. You need to know what the system is, and if you need to come early, you need to come early. If your station is not ready when the time the chef needs you to get done, it's not gonna be worth it. I was a commis for like 3 months, and I was in charge of cornets, right? And I hate making them freaking cornets.
You still make them good?
Yeah, I hate making those cornets. They're the worst. And then they had these pipes they were screaming hot that we had to like put the cornets in, you know what I mean? And so I don't have time. Like there was no space to work. You need a ton of space. And so my clock in was 6 o'clock. I was there at 3:30 every morning. 3:30. I was there with the bakers. I would turn on all the lights. I'd give everybody new salt, new black pepper, peppercorns in their pepper mill.
So what you're saying is important. I
Yeah.
want you to. So you're the low commis coming
Yes.
in. You fill everyone's salt. You fill
Yes.
everyone's pepper mills.
Yeah.
Make sure that when the
Seafolds.
when the
Yeah.
seafolds when they come in, everyone's set.
Yes.
Why was that important? So and then we'll get back to that. But
Right.
I think that's I like that.
Yeah.
I like the commis comes in, fills up everyone's salt, pepper.
Well, first of all, it was my job.
Yeah.
They asked me to do it. It was my job, but
yeah.
it was all the commis' job. We were to make sure that all of the guys that came in for chef de parties would be set up on their station. So deli containers with lids, like the whole nine. But I was there. That was the first one. So I was like, you know what? Instead of everybody scrambling trying to do this mediocre thing, I'll take 20 minutes and I'll do the whole restaurant.
Yeah.
So I would grab all my butter, all of my flour, all the stuff I need for the cornets, and then another container of all the stuff I need to fill the stations with, and I would just hit the whole thing, and then I would start working on the cornets, turn the lights on. And the other thing too is just a great feeling to be in a 3-star restaurant by yourself at one station making cornets, and just seeing everybody's face when they see you making cornets at like this time. And people talk about it. They talk about you. Harold's been there since like 4:30, like making cornets, like you know what I mean, like, and also I got bumped up fast to go to be a chef de partie because I was doing these extra things, But yeah, so I think going into a 3-star, 2-star, 1-star, you need to have intention.
Yeah,
you need to make sure you know what you're going in there for, and don't come in there thinking that you're going to learn everything. You need to be specific on what you want to do. Because I suggest you only stay at those spots for a year.
Yeah.
Don't stay more than that or you're going to lose your mind. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
1 year maximum. Be intentional. I'm going to learn how to butcher this way. I'm going to make, foie gras torchons and all this kind of stuff. This is what I'm going to learn at this spot. The next spot, I'm going to learn how to run entremet by myself, stuff like that. Like I would go into these places with intentions of a plan of what I'm trying to learn. Now, a place like Noma, I got in, through asking Rene Redzepi at a conference in front of everybody if I could stage. And
I saw that video.
And he said he can't say no, and that's how I got in.
Yeah.
And so it was like, sometimes you get like somebody writes a letter for you or your chef sends you whatever. That's how I got in, So my situation with Noma is a little different. It's more of a fairy tale thing for me because that was such an amazing. I never knew that could happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when I met Chef Rene, and when I was in Noma, I've never seen a chef that really talked about what he was doing. Like when he was doing that conference, he was telling us all these things. I'm like, oh, that's PS, man. This guy talking about he's there before everybody, whatever. No, but when I was there, he was there making breakfast for everybody. And like, we would have these sessions as stagiaires where he would be breaking down like a rabbit, calls it hair, we're breaking down whole hair.
Mm-hmm.
Tells us about the, how to kill a duck and, the old school way of like, just hanging it and letting it separate from his body.
Mm-hmm.
The whole nine, right? My time on Noma was super romantic because I got a chance to leave New York and be in Europe, number one. Then number two, Rene Redzepi and the team really took a chance on me as a kid from the Bronx. And I was the only guy from the Bronx. Huh? Everybody else was Alan Ducasse or whatever, right?
Yeah. And you had worked at Per Se before or after?
No, this is after. I was at Noma still. Noma was 2011.
Yeah.
Per Se was 2015, and I opened Batard 2013. Yeah.
Okay.
And so I haven't really worked in Michelin star restaurants back then.
Yeah.
But working in Europe in that Michelin star restaurant, like I romanticize it to this day. Every time I go back, see the boys, see the chef, it's always been love. So for me, my time on Noma was different. But if I had to go back and like really like spend those 3 months again,
mm-hmm.
I would be more focused on intention, like what would I try to learn here in Noma? What kind of techniques do I need to learn? At that time, they were on top of the world, right? It was #1 restaurant in the world. Cookbook just came out. All those badass chefs were there. Like Matt Orlando was the chef de cuisine.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Halpin was still there. Like all these guys, so, at the end of the day, it was like a rock star group, and it was such an amazing time. But if I had to go back, I would just, be more intentional. But at the same time, I wouldn't, I don't regret none of my time, you know what I mean?
So if you had a young kid coming up to you and saying, "Hey, I've never worked in a 3-star before, and I just got accepted,"
Uh-huh.
and you're gonna sit him down and say, "Hey,
Yeah,
sit down, Ian. Sit down.
yes,
Let me tell you something. What are the couple of things, like 3 or 4 things that you say, don't."
right. I think the first thing is don't be late.
Don't be late.
Yeah, don't be late. I think number two also is, like I said, be intentional.
Mm-hmm.
You know what you're going in there for. Don't think that it's going to be easy or any of that sort. Number three, I think that just be mindful of the space awareness. I think these 3-star kitchens are so big and so massive and so many walk-ins, so many, you know what I mean? All these brand new gadgets, all this stuff. But to be an amazing chef, an amazing cook, I think you need to understand that you need just this much space to make things happen. And I think if your spatial awareness is good, you can place yourself between a table of 15 people and you wouldn't even know you're there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I think the last thing is to build relationships, not only with your supervisors, but the guys next to you and the women next to you, because you never know who they're going to become after they leave that place, but also you're engraved with that family forever. TKRG will always have a special place in my heart, even though it was such a hard place to work at. But the people that I came out with, the people that are still part of the family and all this type of stuff, the people that don't even cook anymore,
Mm-hmm.
we still had those moments together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's the one thing I really enjoy about the restaurant business is those moments and being with people that enjoy the same things you enjoy and sharing those moments together. You know what I mean?
So while we're on the subject of young cooks that are coming up, a lot of people ask me, like, "Hey," yeah, someone actually asked me this on my Q&A the other day. They said, why are all the young cooks not good anymore?" I don't know if I necessarily agree with it. I think the expectation is different. I think it's more transparent in the industry now, so
Yeah.
people kind of know what it is. But if you were just advising young cooks in the kitchen, like, "Hey, they want to become great chefs. They're just starting out, regardless of what type of kitchen they're going into," what advice would you give a young cook that you wish you had?
Sure. I think the one advice, and I think I've been giving this advice for a long time now, is get yourself a passport. Get a passport and get up out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would get up out of here. I would take a knife roll with 5 of my favorite knives, and I would go overseas, Asia, Europe, spend 6 months and just travel and just cook. And just cook, bro. You got to find why you're cooking.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only way you can really find it. You can't find it in these hard-nosed kitchens in New York or San Francisco or Austin, Texas. Like, that's not it. I think people are forgetting why people cook, why we do this for a living. This is a craft at the end of the day. It's a blue-collar work, so you need to find why you like it,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to be consistent at it. Like Thomas Keller said it best, right? Like, you can have all the passion you want. You're up and down every day. But if you're not consistent, when you come in, it's not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
So I suggest a young cook, don't go to culinary school, number one, you're going to get yourself in debt. Right? Number two, go travel the world, work at a restaurant for like a year and save money. You need $6,000. You need $6,000 at least. Buy yourself a one-way ticket out and then buy yourself a one-way ticket back in. And I would just travel between the lines, and as a U.S. citizen, you get a month at any country for free. You don't have to buy a visa. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Every country, a month, boom. And you can just walk into a kitchen like, "Yo, you need hands?" And you learn through that. And you learn also through traveling is empathy, which is number one. in the kitchen, you know? You need to know how people are going through their lives. You can't, I was such a hard guy coming out of these kitchens. When I was younger, when I first got my first chef job, such a such a bad such a bad way to go about it.
Mhm.
What I learned from those guys, I was trying to be with the teams that I was with, and I had people walk out on me and quit, and like never really understood it. I was like, why they do that? And per se, they can say whatever they want to people, and nobody walks out. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and so I realized that it's not like that. That's not the real world, you know.
Yeah.
So traveling helped me with my empathy, but also helped me to understand my management style and also like what kind of kitchens I want to run, And so that's what my suggestion is: travel, 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 eat, 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 and and then you'll find your voice, and then you'll be able to, really create a space where people feel safe too to find their voice, and that's the most important part.
So how do you recognize young talent in the kitchen, number one?
Mm-hmm.
And then right now you were talking about how when you came out, maybe you had a little bit of harshness,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of a rough edge, and you softened it. What is your approach now to dealing with cooks in the kitchen?
Yeah, I think what I try to do is be more of a. I treat it like a football team. I treat it like a football team. You gotta earn your spot here first. Nothing is really given to you. So when we opened Oko, I ran it like a training camp. Okay, everybody, uniform, boom. This is the uniform standards. Boom, 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 boom. There's the knife standards. Boom, 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 boom. There's the station standards. Boom, boom. So we went through the whole thing of how and everything. This is how you cut the labels. This is how we rotate. This is how we do FIFO.
Mhm.
This is how you clean your station. So we went through the whole thing. And then I notice guys when they're cleaning, how they work a station, how they fold their towels,
Mhm.
how they change their bane in the water, how they change the how they change the water in their pasta water. Like all these things I'm noticing, and then I categorize them in my head. And then we have a conversation. This is how much I'm going to pay you, and this is what my expectations are. In 3 months, if you don't meet those expectations, you either can go or you stay with the same pay. So you make a choice. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So they understand those standards. So the great thing about that is you being super transparent with them, and then also you giving them benchmarks to meet. You know, 3 of the guys that I'm working with now, we have a special relationship on the side where I'm keeping notes on what they want to learn
Mhm.
and what they want to work on while they're with me, and they all agreed to stay for a year. And so every 3 weeks now, the third week is a check-in mark, and we'll see where they're at. And then I'm gonna add more work on top of their work that they're doing regularly to increase the productivity for my side, but also at the same time to make sure that we're checking off the list that they wanted to learn while they're working with me.
So you said something earlier that I geek out on. So my whole chef's PSA is like attention to detail and things
Right.
like that. So you talked about uniform standards, the knives,
Yeah.
the towel and the way they cut the tape, how long, et cetera.
Right.
What are those standards in your kitchen? I'm just curious because I geek out on that stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
So let's start with the uniform one.
sure. Right now our uniforms are black pants, black shoes, a blue apron,
The Brigard Blue.
Brigard blue. Yeah. Just to remind me.
They got the new one now.
Yeah, from Chef's Warehouse. Yeah.
Yeah. So it has the pocket, but now they have the old one, but it's a different material.
That's not the same. It doesn't fade out like the old ones do.
Yeah.
But that's cool though.
Yeah.
But and then chef cook's jacket,
Yeah.
a dishwasher jacket, and then they have a bandana.
Mhm.
And then volume 2 is gonna be green shirt, blue apron, and I'm gonna give them a hat
What do you mean volume 2?
when we switch over our uniforms.
Yeah. Got it.
So I do uniform changes every 4 months.
Got it.
So next quarter we're gonna change it to a new uniform for them,
Why do you do that?
just to keep everything fresh.
Is it just a fresh T-shirt?
Yeah, fresh t-shirt or like something else different, or the apron changes, or it keeps. I feel like it keeps the cooks prideful of their things,
Yeah.
but also perception wise, the kitchen's also kind of open right now.
Yeah.
So perception wise, people that have eaten there in the beginning to now can see that there's a change, and there's also there's a click in their heads. It's like, oh, there must be something going on in the kitchen. So the dishes also come out a little different. Like stuff like that. So I like to like keep everything moving in that sense, and also creating a space for people to be themselves. You know, the more we be more ourselves, I think the food comes out tasting better. You know,
So you change the T-shirt and you change the bandana every 4 months.
every 4 months. Yeah.
Is it like just a blank T-shirt, or can they have
Well, we're gonna
a rock band on?
No, we're gonna do.
The
We're gonna do.
Wu-Tang logo.
We're gonna do Oko shirts.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're gonna create a thing for them, and then they're gonna wear as a uniform.
Yeah, I like that idea. That's interesting. And then you said the knives have to be a certain way. What do you mean by that?
Well, in regards to what they chop with and what they use as every day.
Yeah, so it's intentional.
Yeah, it's intentional. So I tell them that you have to have at least 3 knives.
Yeah.
Right. One is your chef knife, which is your everyday, get it done kind of knife.
Mm-hmm.
One vegetable knife when you need to do like specific cuts with chives and scallions and like, chiffonade things in your station. You need a knife for that. And then a slicer, if you need to slice meat and all that kind of stuff. I always have, as part of our kits, a bread knife, a microplane and all that on my station already, so if they need to use any of that stuff. But those 3 knives are always prevalent in the kitchen because we do a lot of herb work or garnishes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, I try to just tell them those are the 3 you need to have, and Japanese, obviously, or they can buy the Filipino knives that my friend owns called Nacional in the Philippines. I give them a little discount and da-da-da. So, and also when they first came in with me, this was how I was giving them their uniform. It was a white apron for prep, the blue apron for service, the bandana, a coon spoon, tweezers, and then 4 towels. And I said, this is going to be every day your situation. So everybody knows that they get 4 towels a day. They need to have their spoon, their tweezer on their station. They can have more spoons if they want to. And then they do prep work in their white aprons, and then it turns to the blue for service.
So the aprons, do they wash themselves, or
Yeah, they wash them.
they take them home? But the towels,
No, usually have them.
what's the standard fold for the towels there?
You
got to keep them folded.
Yeah. It's just cross and then 3. And then,
3 by 3.
Yeah,
Yeah, 3 by. That's the same thing.
So you can cover your palm.
Yeah.
That's why I try to tell them you need to have it at least to cover your palm. So when you grab something hot, you're not burning yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you said uniforms, and then what's the tape standard? Green or blue?
Green for sure.
Yeah.
Green stands out more, and also green sticks to the thing better than the blue.
Yeah. Do you have a specific brand you use?
We use a frog tape, whatever.
Yeah. It's funny. I used to be a blue tape guy for a long time.
Yeah.
It was a little bit cheaper.
Yeah.
And then I was helping out a friend in Puerto Rico, and it was kind of a screwed up kitchen, but they didn't have any light bulbs in the walk-in, and they used green tape. And then I realized they used green tape because it was easier to read in the dark.
Yep.
I was like, oh, that was the only thing I did. Is like, okay, I'm gonna switch.
Yeah.
I'll switch it. So I converted to green tape after that, and my thing was always like short, labor,
Right.
Date initial.
Date initial, correct. Yep. And then we used tape dispensers.
Yeah.
We were cutting them before, but I said tape dispensers is better. So
Yeah, it's efficient.
Yeah.
I'm a tape dispenser guy myself. What about music? You play music in the kitchen?
I used to be a music guy.
Yeah.
But I used to do it just because I wanted to make sure that it was like, you go to training in the military and do like live gunfire.
Yeah.
So I wanted to like play it super loud so they can like hear my voice through all that noise when I'm calling tickets. But that was kind of maniacal. So I was like, you know what? We're just gonna turn everything off. And so it's just a quiet kitchen. Whether they want to play music when they're cleaning down at night, that's fine.
But in your kitchen, you can hear the music inside the dining room.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to have the music on anyways.
Yeah. No, that's it. I'm not personally. I get a lot of shit for. I'm not a fan of music in the kitchen because I get. I'm like, no, quiet, focus. But that's just me. I know a lot of people are like, no, I like the music. Me personally, I don't. Especially because for me, it's like I've seen people get into fist fights over the music. It's like, I want cumbias and I want this. It's like they start fighting. I've had to break up fights, and I'm like, you know what?
It's not worth it.
Yeah. And honestly, most people don't want to listen to what I want to listen to.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I want to listen to hip hop or something like that. Right. I don't want to listen to this, but I want to ask you, so of all the great chefs, and we talked about this the other day when Rogelio was here, but I asked this question to a lot of chefs. If you had to name some 4 chefs that are on the Mount Rushmore of chefs that had the biggest impact on your career for you, who would they be?
Wolf, that's tough. For me, all right. Obviously, Rene Redzepi's going to be on there for me. He gave me an opportunity to go to Europe and be part of that. That's one. Two would be a chef mentor of mine that passed. His name is Maximo Tejada. He was part of the Latino cuisine movement in New York in the early 2000s. He's a mentor of mine. I will go. I will go. I will go. My other chef that I work with, his name is Mehdi Brinkley. He worked at Ope de Cochon in Montreal for 10 years, and he taught me a lot about offal and nostal cooking. Number 4, I'm a big fan of Anthony Bourdain for sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
Did you ever meet him?
I never got to, and that's the one thing I kind of regret. I never got the chance to meet him.
Yeah, neither did I.
Sucks. But I think for us cooks that came up in the 2000s to like 2016, Anthony Bourdain was like our guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you know, a hard-nosed guy, came from nothing, worked in, you know, French brasserie places and just be like this no-name chef in the back, you know, but his words and the way he spoke about our craft was the way I like to talk about our craft, you know, and the way I like to tell people the way I see it, you know. And so he influenced me a lot too with traveling and his TV shows and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the 4 for me.
Yeah, he was no bullshit.
Yeah.
It was no bullshit. You know, it's funny with Bourdain. I was just listening to his books again recently, and I listened to Medium Raw, and I forget. Like I write books, I like to write, but I'm like, fuck. Not only was he smart and knew how to speak the language of the people, but technically he was a really good writer.
Yeah.
Like he knew how to put words together to tell stories. Like fucking storyteller, the best.
I mean, I think our chefs are also storytellers, right?
Yeah.
We have to tell a story of the food, or we can't sell it. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
So I think, I think, yeah, you're right. Like those type of things, like you never knew, right? Like a guy like Anthony Bourdain is a great writer, storyteller. Like you would never get a chance to know that if he didn't take that leap of faith to do what he did, right?
Yeah. And what made him so relatable is the stories that he was telling is like, that's my story.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like everyone's like, nah, that's his story, but it's my story.
That's
too.
right. That's right.
Yeah, we shared the same story. I think, Bourdain's he's the GOAT, right?
Yeah.
I like to usually close the podcast with some random questions.
Sure.
So if you had a chef's PSA out there, people need to the cooks need to stop doing this or they need to start doing this. What is some advice you'd give them?
I don't know. I think people say it all the time, but I think it needs to be reiterated. Is don't be scared. Don't be scared to fail.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't be scared to get fired from a job. Don't be scared to like cook something raw. Don't be scared to like overcook something. Like this is what it is about. You know, like you're only gonna learn if you're not better than what you were yesterday. You know what I mean? So I will go 2 feet in and dive into something wholeheartedly instead of just tiptoeing around it, you know? And I think some people, you know, they come into the game and they think that, you know, oh, I'm going to be this media chef or I'm going to be a celebrity chef or I'm going to all this stuff. Like, you don't understand what it took for Bobby Flay to get there.
They just see the end result.
Right. You don't know what it took for Rocco Despirito to get there.
Yeah.
You don't know what it took for Danielle to get there or any of that sort, right?
Right.
And most of these guys are on their way out anyways because they're getting old now, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so you don't know what it took to get there, you know? So, you know, you gotta earn it, earn your stripes, earn the respect, and then all the other stuff is gonna fall into place. But I think not being scared to fail should be one of those things that young cooks and anybody that wants to get into the culinary game, because that's what I love about the restaurant business is black and white always.
Yeah.
You either got it or you don't got it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I say to people, it's like there's social currency in the kitchen.
Yeah.
The only social currency that matters when it's busy is can you cook? That's it. Like no one cares like, oh, I went to this school or my girlfriend or boyfriend looks like this or I drive, like none of that
Nobody
matters.
cares.
No one fucking cares.
No
Like,
one
did you
cares.
get the food out?
Yes.
Did it taste good? That's
That's
it.
it. Hot food, cold food, you know what I'm saying? So I think that's it, man. And some people don't get it, and some people, think that it's supposed to be given to them.
Yeah.
And I think some of the young cooks now feel that way, but they have to earn it. You have to really earn it.
Yeah. How do you teach that to people? Because you're right. A lot of people live in the something for nothing world. They expect it. And then they get shocked when they get into the industry and they realize they do have to earn it. And they say, well, I went to culinary school, but so did everyone else. And you're like, so it's the so what? How do you coach that into someone?
Out there, just pull one of my Garmo guys and say, "You see this guy right here? He was a dishwasher last week." And he comes to work on time. His uniform's always clean. His station's always clean. His knives are always sharp. His towels are always folded.
Yeah.
And I just kind of just have an example in the kitchen. And I always say, like some people too, man, like I have two guys that just came here 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Like traveled, like, went through all that to get here. And I explained that to them. I'm like, you shouldn't have any issues working in this kitchen right now.
Yeah.
These guys walked here to come and get a better life. You were born here.
Really?
And if you're telling me that you don't know how to change palm sugar that's rock into a liquid, there's a problem. All right? If you're telling me you can't do that, there's a problem. Because not only that's irrelevant, you can Google it literally in your hand. You can figure it out.
Yeah.
So don't tell me that can't happen. And that happened last week. But anyways, then, those are the type of things I try to do in the kitchen. It's like show an example and have somebody that I kind of promoted came up and like, look what he's doing now. Last week he was washing your dishes. He's right next to you now.
Right.
So he's like, oh, okay, I get it. So I was like, yeah.
So I do a weekly Q&A on the Chef's PSA Instagram page. I do my Cigar Sunday.
Yeah.
And I got asked a question the other day. I thought it was interesting. Not that the question was interesting, but it made me think about an interesting example. So they asked me, like, what's something that I've seen in high-end kitchens that people don't talk about? And I remembered, I was like, oh shit, I've never talked about this before, but I talked about it on the Q&A, is that I've worked with chefs that have come from, I won't say where, but some very serious 3 Michelin star kitchens in France that would put food coloring in their purees. So
all day.
Yellow in the corn,
Yeah.
red in the red, green in the green.
All day. All day.
And it's like, and I remember when I first saw it, I was like, I saw someone do it. I was like, did you just? And they're like, yeah, what do you, like, he looked at me like I was an idiot when I was calling him out. But besides that, is there something else that you've seen that people would be like, fuck, they do that in the like what is one of those things that people would be shocked if they found out?
Yeah, frozen peas, man.
Frozen peas for puree.
Yeah,
They're
the frozen
sweeter.
peas, they're sweeter and they maintain the color.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of things, man. Like, I feel like it's so hard to work in those kitchens, and you have to stay up always. Everything has to be perfect. And if you don't find little ways to get ahead or little ways of getting a little thing here and that, you're gonna fall behind. And I learned that the hard way when purees were a situation for me, and I was working on Tremet. And what that chef, he makes the dots big.
Yeah.
That chef makes the dots small. So whoever works the pass, I can tell how many orders I have in one bottle.
Right.
And so I would always be watching, like, okay, that guy's working. I need to get another puree started.
Yeah.
Warmed up. So by the time he gets to the bottom of that bottle, I'm refilling it already. He doesn't have to say nothing to me. The little stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you just gotta, like I said, food coloring thing is hilarious because, every Every European kitchen does that.
Yeah, it's funny. It's also like truffle oil. Like I know chefs that'll like they're shaving truffles, but they have to put a couple of drops in the whatever dish, little drops of truffle oil, because if not, people say this doesn't taste.
The
like
aromatics,
truffles.
the aromatics too. Yeah.
Where's the truffle flavor? These truffles aren't good. It's like, no, you just don't know what truffles taste like, because most people think it tastes like truffle oil.
Right.
Last question, chef. You were talking about your buddy's knives. What is, like, if you look at your toolkit, knives, spoons, tweezers, whatever tools that you have in your thing, like, what's the one thing that's like everybody should have one of these, like that, and not the obvious, not the chef's knife, like what's the other thing that people, the underutilized tool that people don't use enough?
I think a petty knife. A sharp petty knife.
Yeah.
You can survive any kitchen, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can break down rabbits with that. You can break down fish. You can do your little your little herb work. You can do you can cut things. You know what I mean? Like on the station. But a petty knife, I think it's one of my favorite knives. I have 3 of those, and I always keep them sharp. You know, like, and you know, when you're doing like events and stuff, you don't want to bring your big old chef knife. You know, bring a little roll with your petty knife and a couple of spoons. Like, boom, you're good. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
it's a utility. That's why it's called a utility knife. Because you use it for everything.
Yeah.
So I love a great petty knife.
Chef, where can people find you?
Find me here in Austin, Texas, Oco on East 6th Street. Find me on Instagram, Chef Harold Villarosa. And I'm all over, man. Just look up.
Yeah. Well, it's good seeing you, Chef.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I hope you enjoyed the show. Let me know what you think. Comment down below. If you're watching on Spotify, make sure you leave 5 stars, nothing less than 5. 6 if you can, 7, 10. Whatever the highest amount of stars, leave that. YouTube, hit the like and subscribe button. If you want early access to episodes, you can now get them on Substack and also on Spotify. If you want more Chef's PSA, sign up. Go to chefspsa.com. You get all the books, all the merch. We'll see you next week. Hit the porno music.
Yo, it's André in the kitchen, mixing, dropping chef knowledge, no fiction, stirring up the beats, heating up the session. Listen close, class is in session.